Welcome to the Sheff United way. I'm excited because we would now like to introduce a former Blades international goalkeeper. Have you guessed who it is? Yeah. The man between the sticks for many of us in our formative years watching United, made well over 200 appearances for the Red and White Wizards between 1992 and 1999. Alan Kelly, welcome to the Sheff United way. How are you, my friend?
Very well, thank you, Hal. Yeah, good to see you, yourself and Nick, and looking forward to trying to remember what 26 years ago is it since I left. So let's see how the memory is.
Yeah, well, you've got to go back even further because I'm going to ask you how your father influenced your career. So that's obviously really, really early on for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, there's a photograph there of that's me as a baby. I think I'm 2 days old in my father's arms. And no, he didn't drop me being a goalkeeper, but and George Ross, my godfather, and yeah. So always got those memories, and yeah, as you say, sort of born into that football family, really.
Incredible. I love hearing that. And your brother also, we talk about the family, was a professional goalkeeper. And some might remember he also played briefly for Sheffield United. What was the competitiveness like, if that's a word, competitiveness, for you two growing up?
Completely different. I mean, I was well documented that I was an outfield player until sort of 15, just turning 16. And yeah, I had my aspirations were to be an astronaut, jumping out of trees and all sorts. That's probably why I've got two metal knees now. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, totally different. Gary always wanted to be a goalkeeper and a footballer, and I started off in industry in Leyland Motors as an apprentice. So yeah, two different pathways, but both got to play professional football.
So how did you get started in the professional game with your first club? Obviously, it's Preston North End, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, as I say, with my father being, spending, I think 38 years consecutive at Preston from 1958 to 1985. Is an incredible, stretch and family association with Preston. That was celebrated by him having his stand. So even now, when I go back and I see his face there, 50 meters high, still not smiling, but anyway, you know what I mean. But yeah, you can see how I might be drawn into that, or people, my other brother Dave as well, been drawn into the family tradition, shall we say? But I was completely different. I was working at apprentice electrician at Leyland Motors, but I was also playing for Preston's youth team and for the reserves because at that time Preston were in the fourth division. Did no money. There was a completely different stadium to I had now. And I was a cheap option, i.e. I cost £0 to just shove me in the net. And that happened because one day the reserve team goalkeeper broke his finger in a game and I happened to be ball boying, helping my dad out. And I was the only one who could go in the goal. I went in the goal. I made 3 or 4, 5 saves. And the coach said, why don't we give him a go? So for a year, 15 months, I worked as an electrician as well as playing in the youth team and the reserves on a midweek and a Saturday.
Had you any experience in being a goalkeeper before being shoved in the goal?
I'd probably dipped in and out, to be honest. When let's say at school and nobody wants to go in the goal, I'd say I'd go in, or that type of thing. But yeah, no, I actually started out as a centre forward, centre midfield, centre half, and I kept going back until I found my position. But
you didn't end up right back in the changing rooms then.
But I played for the town team at centre back. So got to a decent level at that time, and just by sort of, I suppose, the right time at the right place, and because of the situation Preston were in, then they said we'll take any free gift we can get, and I was the free gift, and fortunately that led on to me then being turned into being a professional football at Preston and staying there 7 years.
Yeah, that's a big part of your life. And actually, if we get to the Blades stuff, because it's a Sheffield United channel, otherwise we would talk more about those 7 years at Preston. But let's be honest here. Was it difficult to leave Preston in 1992 when Sheffield United came calling?
2 answers to that question. One, Preston had one of the first plastic pitches, and it was like carpet laid over concrete. And I'd been on it for 6 years, and got a couple of injuries off it, and I was literally breaking up because of it. It was, as you imagine, we trained on it every day, so it was just an incredible amount of force going through your body. And yeah, I've been there 7 years. I played 160 odd games for Preston. And actually, when the call came from 𝗣𝗍𝗲𝗷, and it was the advent of the Premier League, wasn't it? The inaugural Premier League started 92, 93. And, sometimes you ask yourself a question, whether out loud or to yourself, just the time was right. And I think it was right for both clubs. They made money out of me and did do further along the line with we getting international recognition and also being eventually sold by Sheffield United. And so it worked in some strange way. Sort of the universe worked together, and everybody did well out of it. So, but I couldn't turn down that opportunity either as well when Sheffield United came calling, even though I'd never been to Sheffield.
Ah, interesting. So you mentioned it was 𝗣𝗍𝗲𝗷 that gave you the call. So how did that move come about? Because we always like to know the ins and outs of these sorts of dealings, because quite often some funny stories kind of are unveiled.
Well, it was a pre-season, so 92, 93 pre-season. So I sort of was about to get into it, and I actually went. I just got married. Myself and my wife Sarah just got married. 2 weeks later, there's a phone message on a phone at home, and I got a trial with Notts County, but they sent me to Notts County, so I went down to Neil Warnock, believe it, of all people.
Wow!
Did a pre-season down there that I could have actually been an Olympic 400-meter runner by the time I'd finished that 2 weeks. But anyway, it didn't work out, shall we say? And when I got home, there was another message on my phone. It was from 𝗣𝗍𝗲𝗷. Can you ring me straight away? So no mobiles back then on the landline. Mr. Bassett, I called him. He said, "Right, this is what we're offering you. Can you go to Sheffield in, what was it? Let me work it out. Something like 12 hours time. We are leaving for the pre-season tour to Sweden, to a place called 𝗣𝗍𝗲𝗷. It could have been Norway, actually, one of those. But anyway, we went on a Scandinavian tour. And so from phone call to signing in that 12 hours, I'd never been to Sheffield, so I didn't know how to get there. My father-in-law had to drive us over.
Oh yeah.
I'd only been married 2 weeks, and I was off, and that was it, gone. So it was whirlwind. But yeah, start of an incredible period in our lives as a family, and also with a connection to Sheffield United.
Can I just touch on Neil Warnock quickly before we move on, because we need to know why didn't you end up signing for Notts County then? Have you got
I want to know that as well.
any anecdotes about Neil Warnock?
We couldn't agree a deal. So Neil, and also maybe because I'd in one of the games there was a through ball, and Craig Short, who was the star striker for, centre half for Sheffield United, he called for the ball. I was on his side. I needed to make an impression, so I decided I was going to be the advent of the new sweeper keeper. Came out, called for the ball. He didn't give up. I didn't give up, and I hit him with a force, or we hit each other with a seismic force that knocked him out and left me semi-unconscious on the floor in a pre-season game. 11v11. Anyway, I knew it wasn't going to work out because I remember Neil coming over in my days saying, right, star player's injured, everybody carry him back to the dressing room. So they're virtually like 𝗼𝗲𝗷, they put him over his shoulder, they carried him all the way back, and they left me on the pitch. I thought, probably not going to work out this. So that was it. It was a great experience in terms of, I'd always been at Preston. I've been, born and raised in Preston. I've been there for 23, 24 years. I went into with a group of lads that I still speak to this day, and we still remember those stories. Tommy Johnson being another one, and but it didn't work out. But it's funny how it comes around that suddenly, you find yourself where you are with Sheffield United, and what unfolded after that. Sometimes it's just meant to be, and that was one of those occasions.
Tommy Johnson played for Sheffield United. He also played for some other team. Craig Short ended up playing for Sheffield United. Yeah. Chris Short, his brother, played for Sheffield United with you. Now, did you ever say to Chris, by the way, I knocked your brother out?
Oh, he knew. Yeah, he knew. Yeah, exactly. They knew everything about it. So it was definitely wasn't a secret within football, but it was a hell of a collision. I have to say, there was, you know what I mean?
It.
But Neil, one of his pre-season, I suppose, better word is beastings. There was a cricket pitch down at Nottingham. I think it was next door to the old Nottingham Forest training area. And he used to put these bamboo sticks with a rope, and it was a low rope that you jumped over, and then it was a high rope that you had to sort of duck down, roll over, get back up, and keep sprinting. We must have done about 24 of those in a day. Now, anybody who's started running, anybody who does any type of running, will know that the next day you wake up and you feel like your calves are going to pop out your legs. Well, that was the first time I'd ever really done anything like that. And I woke up the next day, I nearly fell over. I couldn't walk. I couldn't catch colour, couldn't spring. That, all I could do was run forward very quickly, and Shorty felt the force of that. So, but yeah, an incredible start to a pre-season that I don't think I ever experienced again.
Yeah, it's probably changed now, the fitness methods. I think. Yeah, Dean Riddle, I think, taught United quite a bit about how to do it differently. You actually played more games for United than any other club.
Yeah.
So, is it possible to put into words just how much the Blades still mean to you?
It's hard because the experiences that I had, the 2 years in the Premier League, the two semi-finals, the playoff semi-finals, particularly, it's so many great games to be involved in. But also, we absolutely loved Sheffield as a family. My wife, we moved over straight away. We ended up in 𝗣𝗍𝗲, which is a beautiful part of the country, and we saw it as our forever home and our forever place that we were going to stay. I should have known better because football's not like that. But, I think the affinity that I had with the fans, I think was so honest and so real that, it doesn't matter whether it was a year after I left or we're talking 26 years after I left now, we still have the same feeling, still have the same connection when I go over messages on social media. And I'm thankful that I had that time, that 7 years, to be able to build that relationship, but also, just to have experienced that in what I've been in football 40 years now, and I've been really fortunate that I had 7 years at Preston as a player. I had 7 years at Sheffield United as a player, 5 years at Blackburn, 7 years at Preston coaching, and so on with Everton as well. So I've always, I suppose, in football terms, had a longevity in wherever I've gone. But in football terms, just that connection, Bramall Lane. Every time I go back, I still get a tingle. The 𝗣𝗵𝗲𝗕𝗿 song comes on, and my son sings it. Even though he wasn't born, he knows every song going. So it's just something that you've experienced, and then when you experience a connection like that, for me, it's unbreakable, and that's how I view it.
Oh, it's lovely to hear. Really, really nice to hear.
I love that. Can I just ask a really quick question? You say your son knows all the words to 𝗣𝗍𝗲𝗕 𝗵𝗍. He's obviously will have grown up with you, more likely being Blackburn than Preston, again coaching, than Everton. Who does he support?
He supports. He has every shirt of every team. He knows the songs of every team. He's like an encyclopedia. He'll just pipe up. I've just recently been at Everton for 7 years. He knows all the songs. So yesterday, the final goodbye at Goodison, knows every song, knows the songs of Sheffield United, Preston, everywhere I've been knows it. So just an absolute football nut who, again, I suppose, is it nature? Is it nurture? But wherever I went, I always felt you had to invest of yourself in that club. You had to give yourself to that club for whatever time you were there for however long. But you had to give yourself to that club and say, right, how can I help? Obviously the performances might help and guide to how long you stay, but to treat it as that it's not just the football, it's the club, it's the environment, it's the fans, and it's the community that's built around it. And I think, if I could give one piece of advice to any footballer these days, irrespective of what you earn, is make that connection, because it will pay you back in multitudes for years to come.
Well said. So he's a Blade then? Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what? Correct me if I'm wrong, Hal. I think you were aiming towards that tweet that Alan put out with the goalkeeper shirts on. Is that right?
Yes.
That was a fantastic photo. It really was.
Yeah, and I was fortunate. I don't have many shirts from that, but I have that one. My FA Cup semi-final shirt, and I used it a couple of weeks ago. I'm involved with the Dementia UK with the charity in Leyland, and obviously when you're going to speak to to members of the group. You have things that are tactile, they can see, they can touch. It's the visual thing. It's it's a touch thing. And I brought the ball from. That's the ball from the 3 penalty saves against Coventry. I bought that. I brought the gloves I've got from it. I also brought a brand new pair of gloves. So, and I gave it to the people, and next minute the ball started flying everywhere. It was like a goalkeeping clinic, and it turned out one of the lads had played 700 games for a local team as well. And suddenly the ball came, and he couldn't shake the new gloves. He couldn't shake it. It was that sticky. I went. That's my excuse. I had that back in the day. I had the old gloves were a little bit slidey, not the new ones. But So again, that shirt, that photograph, that connection, that will from them, want for them to win and do well. Because I know the very fabric of the club. I know what it means to people, and to see them back in the Premier League would be fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah. Before I go into my next question, I'm going to give you a chance just to speak about that Coventry game, because I'll quickly just tell you that was the first giant killing I ever witnessed as a Sheffield United fan. So yeah, that game means so much to me. It really does.
It's weird to say that. There'll be younger people watching this now going, Coventry. But it was. And actually, it's worth mentioning for younger viewers, Coventry were on an incredible tear at that time. They were in really good form in the Premier League under Gordon Strachan. And we went into that game. We had the first game away from home at their old stadium. And then we brought them back to the Lane. And even then, I feel like Coventry was still favourites. It was a night game.
Yeah.
It was incredible. We had the kit that's on over my shoulder.
Yeah, fantastic.
Except for you were wearing the purple and green, and it was a wonderful night. And I'll let you tell the rest of it.
Yeah, but arguably, I think I had my best game of that was the first game, at Coventry, where we could have nicked it in the end in the 90th minute. Everybody remembers 𝗣𝗵𝗲 sprinting back when 𝗣𝗵𝗲 didn't quite manage to get to the ball. I remember going up to Oggy after the game, and he went, "Never again. I am never doing that again." You know what I mean?
How old was Oggy then?
I'm going to say he must have been 38, something, maybe 39, something like that. But it took him 15 minutes to get back on his feet. So, and in some way, the penalty that Dion Dublin took in that game, it's funny how it sort of, things come around, how karma works, But going to that game at home, I mean, incredible. Getting the last minute equaliser, David Oldsworth in front of the Kop with one of the best overhead kicks you're ever likely to see in your life. Talk about timing and being in the right place at the right time. And then obviously it goes to penalties, and still a big mate of mine to these days, Gareth Taylor. I remind him often about this. Missed the first penalty, and he walked past me and he just said, "Do us a favour, Ned, will you? Get me out of it." And to then go on and save the 3 penalties. And I was I said to you, I was back at Sheffield United recently in the Preston game, and Quinny was there as well. Wayne Quinn, who scored the subsequent penalty that got us through. And to have that connection. And again, you're talking what's that? Must be getting on for 30 years ago now. He doesn't look any older. I mean, look, I'm losing my hair. I've got lines.
We've said that.
Quinny's unbelievable. But
yeah, we had him on this channel, didn't we, Hal? We spoke to him for a hell of a lot longer than what we planned to. But he loves a chat.
I think Wayne spoke to us for a lot longer than we planned to. He's a great guy, and you're right. First thing we said was he doesn't look a day older, and I can't believe we've not mentioned, Alan, of all the players to step up and score a penalty, and you must have seen him in training. He never scored a single goal in the right end. He never scored a single goal for the Blades. Roger Nielsen. Of all the players to step up and take a pen, had you any inkling that he was actually a good penalty taker?
He always had a beautiful striker of the ball. He really did. So in terms of technique, taking the emotion out of it, and again, I think everybody, Bobby Ford, when that penalty he took when he buried it in the top corner, with such sublime, I don't know, honesty and just the way that he stepped up, and it didn't look like he had a care in the world, and he bent it in the top corner. You're thinking, wow, Bobby, brilliant. And then, again, I just look back at some of the photographs and obviously the footage, and I don't think I've ever jumped so high when I say one of them, Do
you know what? You were laughing at one point. I think it was the third one that you saved. You were laughing like, I can't believe what's going on here. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, and it was almost like it was a disbelief, It was it's one of those that you struggle to put into words, because you sort of, as it's happened, you do realise it's happened, but then your other shoulder says, has this really just happened? You always get giddy about it. And I've always sort of like worn my emotions on my face, I suppose. That's why I've got so many lines. But just in that moment of joy, I mean, the first one, I think it's that one in it where that's relief. I think that's a release of, energy, of pressure, of yes, it's given us a start. You know what I mean? That's sort of like, it's an aggressive celebration in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
The one where I'm laughing is like, I cannot believe this. I'm sort of like, I quickly looked around. I thought the Cop night game, Sheffield United, St. Patrick's night. Come on, it can't get any better than this.
No, exactly. Saving a penalty from Holmes under the hammer host as well.
Yeah, well, again, go back to that first game when he took that penalty, and when he sized up for the second penalty, I thought he's going the same way here. Thinking Dion's not like that, but in that sort of nonchalant way of, I'm going to put the ball down. I'm not even seeing you as a goalkeeper. I'm going to step up. You're going to go the way I'm going to think you're going to go, and I'm just going to do what I do normally, which works for him. Anyway, as soon as it left his foot, there's a picture where I'm actually diving. And it's funny, you can't see my face, but if you see my face, I'm almost going, oh, yes, I've got it. I was like, my eyes would have been like this going, oh, yeah, and it was there. You know what I mean? And just that moment between the ball leaving his foot to hitting my hand was, I suppose that's that. It was after that save, I think. It was like, I cannot believe it did that. Yeah, you sort of work out the signals, you're working out body language, you're trying to, it's a psychology degree in itself, and it all comes into that one moment that you see there, and you're thinking, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. The good thing about that as well was he didn't really miss penalties either, did he, Dion?
No, that's what I mean. So I think when he stepped up, he thought he's going to think I'm going to go the same way, but I'm brighter than that. You know what I mean? And then when he did, and I'd love to have seen, unless he had a little mic there, and as he saw his foot open up, and then I'm like, it would have been interesting. Maybe that's something you can bring in.
Absolutely. So it might be a similar answer to what we've just been talking about, but in which season do you feel that we saw the best of Alan Kelly?
I think continuously. I think probably the first, particularly the first season. That first season, because I arrived at the club, and I was competing. I didn't know about Mel and his condition, and so I was totally unaware of that. And I just come from Preston, who have been in the old sort of third division, which would be Division 1 now. So and then you're having that double division step up. And I'm laughing now because I've obviously been looking at past games and stuff like that, and my debut away at Sheffield at Spurs, and I've actually got the programme there. That's it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, with the teams on with Trace and all this lot, but then subsequently, what happened then with him being sent off with 10 minutes to go for tackling I think he tackled the ball boy, the linesman. He might have ended up doing a couple of fans as well. And ultimately, Harry, what did he call him? The brains of a rocking horse, I think he called him, or something like that. But at the time, I didn't realise the rule change in the Premier League that season was that if a goalkeeper was sent off, you could replace him with a goalkeeper. And I was the first goalkeeper to replace a goalkeeper who had been sent off, not taken off for injury or anything like that. So it was the first sort of, he was the first goalkeeper who'd been sent off in the Premier League era. And I'm sat on the bench because I've been playing 7 years and thinking, what we're going to do now? And Harry looks round to me and goes, "You're on." I had no shin pads on, you know what I mean? After that, I had my shin pads strapped up. I had everything, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I always made sure people in my teams, be ready because you never know. How do you know? Well, let me tell you. But so that 10 minutes, she was like, wow, what an introduction. And then to make my full debut against Arsenal as well at home in the September, I got that suddenly got that feel, and I thought this is my audition. This is my introduction to Bramall Lane. It's my introduction to the Sheffield United fans. I have to bring my game. I have to. Don't go looking for work. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes towards me, I've got to be ready. This is my chance, and it might only be one chance, and that's what a debut gives you. It gives you that one chance to try and build up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. after that, with Tracy subsequently getting injured, and playing, I think I played 43 games that season, and we stayed up as well. So I think I think your first season and how it goes for you as a player, I think that can set in stone how the fans see you, how you interact, how you play, all that things we spoke about before in terms of that connection. I think that connection happened and was solidified all in that first season.
Yeah. I mean, did you arrive at Bramall Lane knowing you were going to have a fight on your hands?
Oh yeah,
for the number one spot. You weren't given under any illusion. You weren't told you were going to be number one. You had to put up a fight.
Absolutely. And to be fair, even throughout my Preston years, my first, obviously being grounded in the game, you that if you've got to accept competition because that's what it's about. It's you got a squad of 22, and with goalkeepers, you only get that one spot. And I knew exactly what it was, and again coming in with Tracy as well, and Tracy was well established by then. Back-to-back promotions and talking about representing England and everything that goes with it, and I just thought, right, yeah, this is an opportunity, and as innocently as that was like, right, I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to give it my all, I'm just going to give it everything. And what I kept secret for a long time is I tore my thigh in pre-season, so I'd only been there on that trip to 𝗣𝗲𝗲. It nearly turned into hell. I tore my right thigh,
Wow.
and a good one as well. And I thought, I went back to me. I was sharing with Paul Roger. I went back to me. I didn't say anything to Roger. I thought, no, the best course of action here is saying nothing. Right? So I started kicking with my left foot, and it's probably a little thing that Sheffield United fans might have thought, don't quite kick it as far as Trace when he came in, because I couldn't. I was kicking with my left foot. And I half got away with it until we played at Wimbledon, and the pitch was a bog, and you had to really dig it out. And, oh my Lord! And I couldn't, so I had to get. But again, I'd had 20 games, I think, by then, so my goalkeeper performances kept me in the team. You know what I mean? Trace was still out injured, and but for that sort of that right time, right place, you probably hear a lot of that now. Mm-hmm. I'd have been out and on the treatment table, but I just kept going. I just kept take the anti-inflam, say nothing, strap it up. Here's one for you: go into the toilets before the game and strap my leg up so no one could see it, and come back out and went, right, come on, lads, let's go out and play Man United now. No problem. Here we go.
Oh my word!
Wow, I genuinely don't know, Alan, if you'd have got away with that these days.
I don't think, no chance. Absolutely no chance.
I don't think there's any chance. And actually, how was your relationship with Simon Tracey? Because obviously another, as you mentioned, very, very gifted goalie.
Always did get on for him right from the first minute, and still do to this day. Still speak to him, and he's obviously at Brentford now doing a bit of scouting, and we spoke to him with that. And yeah, you know what? Straight away on that trip, that first pre-season trip, I had a pair of gloves that were absolute ragtag gloves. You know what I mean? They were awful. Like Tracy was sponsored by Sondico, and he had the flypaper gloves. You know, I said before about the flypaper. You threw a ball, and it was like, I can't, And he must have looked at mine and gone, what is he wearing? He must have felt sorry for me. And he goes, bang, and he gave me these pair of gloves. Well, the next training session, I remember �11𝗿𝗍𝗍, we're doing shooting practice, and I've got these brand new gloves on, and the palms, the stickiness of the palms was like I'd never really experienced before. Next minute, Bees hits this rasping shot, and I've gone, bang! And I've gone, oh my word. It's still there, the ball's still there. I thought, and it actually just shot my confidence right through the roof. It was incredible. But to be fair to Tracy, he didn't need to do it. But again, helping the goalkeeping union, gave me the gloves, and everything went from there. So in the 7 years we were there, I don't think we ever had a cross word. I think he's spoken about, and I've always spoken about our relationship with Mike Kelly, who was the old England goalkeeping coach, and what he brought to us and how he made us improve as goalkeepers massively. And I think the understanding that we both knew there was only that one spot. And if you lost that spot for more than, so say I was playing and I got injured for 2 games, you might get back in. 3 games, you'd no chance. So you might not see the ball. I think I remember when Nigel Spackman came in and I had an injury in pre-season. I didn't see the first team game until December. That was the quality of the either goalkeeper that went in, But I think especially in that first 5 seasons, I think it was probably tough for Trace because I played probably close to 200 games for Sheffield United in that opening 5 seasons through cups and league games, and we're on about injuries and happening at the wrong time, what have you, and again about my thigh, and I thought there's no way I'm saying it because I might not get this chance again. So that's sometimes that's what you got. You do what you got to do, don't you?
You did always seem to get injured at the wrong time. You were injured before the playoff final against Palace.
Well, yeah, exactly. That was Howard Kendall, wasn't it? So that was 96, 97, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And I think I played 40 games that season. And I remember it clear as day. Portman Road, corner kick from the left-hand side. It's an in-swinger come in. It's going to beat our first man. So I've come out and I've punched it. And as I punched it, I've got a good punch that. The centre forward, it was a Polish fella, I can't remember his name, but his hip hit me just under the knee. So imagine your shin bone connecting the top, and just went like that. So I was coming this way, he's coming that way, and I didn't know, but it ruptured my cruciate ligament, one of my cruciate ligaments, and hit the nerve. So when I hit the ground, I had no feeling in the bottom part of my leg. So the referee's saying, "Get up, get up." I went, I can't feel my leg. Well, Dennis Circuit came on. I went down. I said, I can't feel it. I can't feel my leg from my knee down. And he went, "Don't worry about it." Well, and at that time, Howard, you sometimes didn't use a sub because only 3 sub, didn't use a sub keeper. And strangely enough, it happened before at Portman Road where Trace was playing and they didn't use me as the sub, and he got a bang on the head by hitting the post, and he had to come off. So I mean, once bitten, twice shy. But anyway, so they strapped me up, and if I can, at the time they used to have this like thick elasticated strapping to put on. That the stickiness of it was like glue, like super glue. So he put 6 rolls on, so I was almost in a ankle to groin pot. And he says, "You're gonna have to get on with it." Okay, no problem. So and then we went to extra time as well. So I'm going to say for 115 minutes, I literally played on one leg. And at the end, when we were celebrating, a lot of people, I took my shirt off and I was hopping on one leg, but I was at the far end. It was a long way to hop to get to where the tunnel is at Portman Road. But yeah, so again, one of those iconic nights, one of those nights where Andy Walker scores the goal and we go through on goal difference, but the subsequent cost of 1, missing the playoff final, 2, then the injury not being right in pre-season, you miss games. I think I only actually missed 4 games in terms of being available selection, but Tracy's form and the quality goalkeeper that he was, as I said to you, you might not see the number 1 shirt for 4 months, and that's how it turned out.
I don't want to cause any rift between you and Trace, but are you saving David Hopkins' shot in that final?
Oh, stop it.
Stop it. I'd have caught it. No.
Especially with them gloves on.
No, I was there. I was on crutches actually for the final because I tried my best to get fit. I remember again that I suppose that you've got to have a mentality where you want to play, you want to the what's at stake. And even though I tore my cruciate, I thought I'm going to play it down. So I went. I trained for 3 days, and on the 2 days before the final, I remember Howard saying to me, he said, "You need to see what your legs like from a goal kick." Anyway, as soon as I went, put the ball in front of the Kop, empty stadium, got myself a nice tee, put it down, thought, right, here we go, smashed it, and I just collapsed, knee just went. So I knew what it was like, and again, it was raging hot that day. I remember it being so hot, it was incredible.
Yeah.
And then for Hopkins' goal, it's one of those 1 in a million, isn't it? That seems to happen.
Against Sheffield United.
Sheffield United, again, he scored the right time, right place, and he'll put it in one area where Trace has no chance, and suddenly all your dreams are shattered. But no, it was just one of those brilliant shots, and you take your hat off to him because it's a moment of quality that was rare in that game, I think.
Yeah, let's swing it back from disappointment and heartache, and let's talk about your overall highlight at Bramall Lane.
Overall highlight at Bramall Lane. Well, again, you're not going to get away from the penalty saves, and again the night again with the Irish connection. I think what I missed out before in terms of going to Sheffield United, what did it do for me? It gave me an opportunity to play for Ireland in February '93. Got called up, and then subsequently went to the World Cup in '94 off the back of that as well. And again, I don't think that happens unless I've gone to Sheffield United as well. And Maurice Setters used to live in Bowltree, I think, just round the corner, and Jack was in Northumberland, so it was very easy for them to get down to see me. And again, being at Sheffield United gave me that opportunity. And some of the games, I mean, beating again. I've got. I think I said to you before, didn't I, about the Cantona connection, playing against Leeds when Cantona played for Leeds in October against us at Ellen Road, and then playing him for Manchester United, playing, I think it was in February '93. So, you know, all these iconic names. Some of those teams we came up against were brilliant. But I look at that first season, and I think we kept something like 11 clean sheets. You know, and I still never forget the game at Nottingham Forest, which would have been Brian Clough's last game, wasn't it, at home? Glyn Hodges getting a goal. I think Gailey got the other goal as well, and Roy Keane was playing for him and subsequently signed for Manchester United, and we were thinking, yes, we've stayed up, fantastic, and then the day after, I think Oldham went to Villa and won 1-0. Nick Henry scored the goal, and I was with Gage at his house, and we're getting ready to celebrate, and then Nick Henry scores in a very Sheffield United way. Oh my God, we've got to go to Everton away on the Tuesday. But that turned out to be a fantastic result as well, 1-2-0. And I think too many within it. Although we had the disappointments of relegation, we had the disappointments of losing in playoff semi-finals. I think there's lots of iconic games in there that you can look back and say, what a privilege and what a pleasure it was to be involved in those performances.
Yeah, Nick Henry, another that would end up being a Blade, and you played with him.
Absolutely.
Alan, you touched on it there. Was the relegation away at Stamford Bridge the biggest low?
Oh, God. Well, yeah, without a doubt. I think the thing about that is as well, if you look at the season again, I think we had 9 0-0s in that season. It was just incredible. We lost Brian Dean. I think you can always point to something, can't you? You can always point to an element of the team that you're missing, or an amount of goals that you've not scored, or indeed amount of goals that you conceded. You know what I mean? It's just the way it works out. But I just think when we lost Dino, we lost that minimum 20 goal a season. And I think it was one of those that we were always on that cusp of being in the bottom 7 for quite a number of weeks and months. But even saying that, when we beat Newcastle at home 2-0, I think it was on that Saturday. I think with them, subsequently went to Oldham, wasn't he? I think Trace got sent off at Oldham, or did he? I seem to remember coming on the pitch as substitute, unless he got injured. But anyway, Nathan Blake, who I bumped into recently, I hadn't seen him for 25 years. He got the 2 goals, I think, beating Newcastle at home, and we thought we were richly. Everybody thought we were safe. I think we were 7th from bottom. I think there was a set of results that had to go against us, in terms of other teams like Ipswich, like I think Southampton, Everton. Everybody knows the famous Everton escape against Wimbledon. So going into that game, I think everybody would have been quite buoyant and positive about staying up. And then just to see this pack of cars just fall down on top of each other was unreal. And I remember I wasn't playing that day. There was the manager had a decision to make, and Trace was played in the game. I think we went 2-1 up going into the second half. Everything was comfortable, and we actually only needed a draw, didn't we, to stay up?
Yeah, thing.
And I don't know if there was something happening on the bench. I remember just being away. Just warming up, because sometimes you just as fans you get that feeling, you're thinking we've got to stay on this. It's one of those things where we've got to. It's not gonna fall in our lap. It's not going to be. There's going to be another story to this. It isn't over yet, even though we're winning. Went 2-2, and obviously everybody remembers the Steen's last goal with a flick on from Glenn Hoddle. I don't think Glenn ever headed a ball in his life. I think, but he flicked it on, and it landed right into the path of. I think it was Mark Steen, wasn't it? He buried it in the bottom corner, and I think the biggest agony was being told that Blackburn Ipswich had a kickoff delayed by 10 minutes. And again, I don't know if you've ever seen any footage, but I think it was on Match of the Day. I was outside the dressing room because he had a little
I've
monitor.
seen this.
And I'm looking at it and I'm waiting. And Blackburn has scored in every home game that season. They had Shearer, they had Sutton, Wilcox, all those names that had Ripley. Yeah, they were prolific. So then anyway, the 10-minute clock, the slowest 10 minutes of my life, and then bang, 0-0, and they stayed up by a point. That was our last banker. And I think people have said, "Oh, the camera tried to get in." I think it was me. I banged the door up, and I think I was the one who gave the news to the lads. But said, "We're down."
That's right.
Someone went, "You what?" I went, "We're down." And then you can imagine just this umbrella of disbelief. I don't know. It's really hard to put into terms. It almost feels like grief. You know what I mean? How it just locks into you and hits you, and it's stunning. It's like this can't be happening, really, and especially in the circumstances we've been talking about. I think everybody was stunned. It was a stunned silence, and nobody could say anything. Anyway, we got on, and we had again that season. We'd had 12 clean sheets, I think, in the season. 15 clean sheets ordinarily gets you towards Europe, and we've just gone down. When all intents and purposes, we should be sitting mid-table. But I'll never forget going back on the bus. Again, silence, no talking, no just everybody in their own little world of, I think, of pain, and getting the coach pulling back onto Bramall Lane and the big concourse and car parks that run down to what be Tony Curry's stand now, is it? Or the John Street stand. That's the other side, isn't it? And it was packed with fans. It was just packed. It was wall to wall with fans, and we got off. I remember the door opening. I was one of the first off, and people just started applauding, started clapping. I was like, I couldn't compute it. I couldn't work it out, But again, that connection. I think that that set of circumstances, that 1,000,000 to 1 chance of us going down, that could only happen to Sheffield United, had happened, and I just thought it was remarkable, and it just cemented my affection for the people of Sheffield, really.
Yeah, special fans. Your memory's incredible. Simon Tracey was sent off in the 70th minute away at Oldham. You are very good at this, Alan. You're probably one of the best memories we've ever had.
Oh no. Well, I'm one of those, like, even as a coach, even with Jordan Pickford, I'll say to me, "So what do you think about that?" I said, "Oh, was it in the 17th minute? The long ball out to left hand side and the flick on." It's just like, maybe it's just a photographic thing where you just go, you take a picture and you've got it. But yeah, I basically also, I think if you love the game, if you love football, if you're invested in what you're doing, you tend to remember. Don't forget me, I'll forget as much as I've remembered, but you do it does come back to you, because it's.
You can have photogenic in there as well. I've got a photo of you signed of you saving that penalty in the house. The wife won't let me put it up at the moment.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Howell.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about talking about Sheffield United, because the same thing happened in 2007 when we, Carlos Tevez scoring against Manchester United, and that put us down. Incredible, but it's funny how you also see that, like, these things happen just to Sheffield United. But anyway, you obviously mentioned about Blackburn not managing to score that goal, but you ended up going to Blackburn. Did you have a little bit, any sort of resentment against him for that not scoring that goal?
Well, no, it was a long time after, was it? Was it? Hang on, 5 years after, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That I went to Blackburn, and no, listen, again, that's football. That's just what it is, isn't it? And it just even going into the last round of the games at the end of this season, you still got that memory, and someone said, "Oh, there's no chance they're going to," like Preston. Preston were on the cusp this season, and obviously watching a lot of games at Preston and doing the radio for them and what have you. And you're thinking, don't think that this won't happen. That type of thing. Do what you can to make sure you're not in that position. So it stays with you. That memory stays with you to say, listen, it's never over until you're safe and until that that points total says this is yours and you've earned that. And that's what it comes down to. But I still come back to that. I think, and I'm not just saying because I'm a goalkeeper at the time, and I think I played 30 Premier League games or 31 that year. We kept 12 clean sheets. You shouldn't be going down on 12 clean sheets. If you look at Southampton, Ipswich, all those teams that are going down, conceding 60 and whatever goals, and it just like the universe came together in that one moment to say you're out of here, and there's nothing you can do about it. Exactly like the 𝗣eh𝗲𝗸 goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do like to think if you score 2 goals away from home as well, you've probably done enough to get a point at least. It was all just.
And maybe that was part of it, Al. I mean, you can only ask the question, and this is me as my coach's head on. Do you think, at 2-1, do you say, right, okay, let's just, for want of a better expression, do we park the bus and say, we can allow 1 goal, we don't want to, but we're going to, do you change that tactic? In my memory, I thought we still kept going for that next one, and then suddenly it's 2-2, and then what happens then is everybody gets a little bit anxious or. And something happens. We've seen it. You've seen millions of games. Every fan watching this has seen millions of games. You think, if only we've done that. But if only is only in retrospect. You know what I mean? And when it happens, it's happened. I've always believed whether I've made a mistake, I can never turn the clock back because nobody can, and you have to get on and move forward. And that's what you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did end up leaving Sheffield United, going to Blackburn Rovers. How did it feel leaving Sheffield United? Because it must have been a hard moment.
It was, it was quite surreal, really, because I got called into the office, manager's office down at Bramall Lane. I'm going to say, I think it was even getting into pre-season then in July of '99, and got told I wasn't going to get. I'd just got into last year. My contract was, and basically they said we've got an offer for you. One of you has got to go. That saying that's always seemed to be on everybody's lips for the 7 years me and Tracy were together. One of you has got to go, and that happened. Adrian Heath was new manager. A bid came in for me. The bid was accepted, and I was told they need the money, and that had to go. I suppose the way that they sold to me was to help the club, and that was it. But I remember walking out, and I suppose in a way you're thinking, wow, okay, 7 years, 250 odd games. I don't know. It was that shock feeling I said before about relegation. That same thing just hits you. But I had to go upstairs because we were doing a fan signing. I think in the Platinum Suite, and I never forget. And the news got out ultra quick. Somehow, I remember one of I'm trying to remember his name. Is it Frappington? His second name is I can't remember his first name, but I met him subsequently. 40 years after, or 25 years after this has happened, and when he was a small boy, and he walked past me and he gave me his change and said, "There's my pocket money. Will you stay?" Oh my God! It was like, oh, lump. You know what I mean? It was it was sad. It was sad because I think it happened so quick. I don't think you get the chance to say goodbye. You don't get the, you look at it these days. You're looking at 𝗣eh𝗲𝗍 yesterday, and I'm not saying you wanted that, but at least just to look around. But again, that's football. And I go back to that saying before. I was here today, and then I was gone tomorrow. And when decisions are made like that, sometimes that's the way it is. But when I came back with Blackburn, I think the welcome I got and the affection shown, both ways, was special as well. And that's when I think when Blackburn first went back, I think it was around about the December, and probably one of my first games. Sheffield United won 2-0. But I did all right in the game, and I remember making a save in front of the cop and thinking this is surreal because this was last year. I was, you know what I mean, that type of way.
Yeah.
But again, I look at it philosophically now, and I say, again, 7 years, 2 years in the Prem, the semi-finals, the penalties. We've even missed out the Arsenal debacle down at Arsenal when the game was replayed.
Yeah. You were running after the referee. Was it the linesman or the referee that you were running after?
It was the referee, but it was quick. I couldn't catch him up. I was in a salmon. And my mother on the went round to see her a couple of days later, and she said, wizened old Irish lady said, "Did you see that idiot in the salmon pink jumper running after the referee?" I went, "That was me. That was me."
You had some shocking kits that you had to wear during your time.
It's not his fault.
Really.
It's not his fault.
No, but I felt for you. Some of them were really bad. And what the obsession was with green and purple. I mean, we had so many.
I never got a choice. I'd have gone big and bright, because I always thought, if a striker's coming through, if he sees the colour, their eye gets drawn to it. But no,
Did you not use that kid's pocket money that you stole? And
gave him back. I gave him back. I went, put it back across the table. You're all right. Go and get yourself some penny chews. No, but again, you look back at it and you think to yourself, right, okay, how did I arrive? I arrived from 2 leagues below. Nobody really knew who I was, and then you fast forward that 7 years and think, I played over 250 games for a team of Sheffield United standing in a stadium which is just incredible. I mean, my first Sheffield derby was the 1-1 in the November of '92, 30,000 sold out. And I spoke about it before. It was like there was a program at the time called Football Italia, and it's like it seemed to have flares, it seemed to have smoke, everything like that. And I came out and I just went, wow, it was just it was like someone just going, oh, this is you, you know what I mean?
And you deserved it. You'd done so much to get there.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's like, again, you have to be in the right place at the right time, and if that's fortunately to get it from that respect, the first one against Arsenal was Trace got sent off, so you get to show, you have a little window where you can show for that one game. You'd never wish it on anybody, but then Trace, I think he's alluded to before, where he got injured in training one of the sessions, and suddenly the next game is the Sheffield derby. And that's my next one where I've got to, whoa, hang on a minute, it's more pressure here. This is like, if the Arsenal game and your debut was pressure in the Premier League, this is the your nearest rivals, bitter rivals, and you have to perform in this game. And I think I made a double save in the first 10 minutes, something like that, from Mark Bright, and you're off and away again. So unless you get those opportunities, and as players, unless you take those opportunities to show what you can do, then maybe you don't get the second year, the third year, the fourth, but I was lucky to get the 7.
Yeah. As I said before, deserved it. So, who was the best keeper you've ever played with or against?
With or against? Good grief. That's a really good question. You could have forewarned me about that one, couldn't you?
No.
just throw some names at us if you like.
I tell you what, I've got to put it in this way, because I think when you start as a young pro, and I was a young pro at Preston. David Brown was the first team goalkeeper. Probably I was 17. I was like Tigger. I was energetic. I was bounding everywhere, and I think the grounding that he gave me, and schooling that he gave me in the art of goalkeeping. We didn't have a goalkeeping coach, so it was the senior pro, passing that advice down, or even in his training, or how he went about preparing for a game. I think he gave that inspiration in terms of how you're going to get a career in the game and the longevity of that career, and I've always thanked him for that. Getting to Sheffield United, just seeing the quality of Simon Tracey, and again, also for someone who had to but be alongside somebody who was challenging him at every minute of every training session of every day. Subsequently, playing as many games as I did, but the way that he handled it, I think the way that we both handled it, again, I talk about that mindset, but I also talk about that acceptance of saying, okay, it's not my fault, it's not Tracy's fault if they're playing, it's our job then to support each other. That might sound a bit, romantic or what have you, but we both understood what the number one position was about, especially at Sheffield United, and we also understood that if we wanted to hang on to that, we had to stay fit, we had to play well. And I think that combination together with the personalities where we got on, hopefully allowed that period of goalkeeping for Sheffield United to be of a very high standard. So in terms of, I said David Brown, in terms of Trace, who did I play against? I'm trying to think now.
Were there any international goalkeepers that you played against for Ireland? So you can remember.
Good grief, yeah. Do you know what? I played against, my debut for Ireland was against Germany in Hanover, just before the 94 World Cup. So in May, I've been selected for the 94 World Cup, and I made my full debut against Germany, who were the world champions and hadn't been beaten on home soil for 40 years. And Big Jack just said, it's a matter of fact, last training session at the stadium, Hanover. By the way, young'un, you're playing tomorrow. Just get on with it. That's it. No tactical plan, nothing. Just get on with it. Bodo Illgner was the goalkeeper at the time. Big, solid, massive, if you seem that to me. But we beat them 2-0. So my full debut for the Republic of Ireland, following in my dad's footsteps, who had got 47 caps for Ireland, also as a goalkeeper. That, I don't think, if Carlsberg did games, you wouldn't be much better than that, would you? But the look on his face after you're talking about, I went over to shake hands with him and swap shirts with him, and I'm glad he didn't. It just swatted me away. But I've got the jersey, so I've got. Do you know what I mean? So in some ways, because it was tradition, you swap. You did swap jersey, not the way they do now in the club, but on the international level, jersey came off. There you go. And he didn't. But I'm grateful now because I've got the shirt. Do you know what I mean?
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
great win.
And from Hanover winning 2-0, the next day we flew to the USA and the 1994 World Cup. So it's probably there's too many. I look at some of the team. I mean, Peter Schmeichel. Peter Schmeichel in the opening season of the Premier League 92-93. He brought goalkeeping to a different level, didn't he? He brought, arguably, his distribution, his organisation, his presence, the spread that he had, and everything. He changed goalkeeping. Not only was there the back pass, but there was the Schmeichel effect, and I think playing against, a goalkeeper of his standing and what he went on to achieve at Man United, I think again. Being on the pitch at the same time as those players and that team, I think, because it was 26 years, I think, since they won the league. Your Beckhams, all that the class of '92. Yeah, I can look back and say I was there, I was on the pitch, and I conceded the goals.
Well, it's more than what we can say anyway. All we can do is watch on TV. But going back to your kind of playing days, who were your pals on the pitch?
I think that's one thing about particularly Sheffield United, and we most of obviously you'd have the Sheffields there, you'd have Wardy, Brads, and Sid Whitehouse, wouldn't you, as the the bona fide Sheffield lads, or the slap shots as we used to call them, and great people. And again, when I went back for the Preston game recently, first people I saw was Brads and Mitch, and it's like you're transported back into a dressing room 20, 25, 30 years ago, and and again, the way that they welcomed you, the way that they schooled you, the way that they initiated you, that's probably another podcast of its own. but no, they wanted to test your mettle to see if you had what it takes to play for Sheffield United, because they understood growing up around the around the ground where they lived and everything like that. They understood what it meant, and they understood, and they made sure that everybody coming into that dressing room understood that as well. And but again, look at Bees, look at Trace, and I was fortunate. I was given the captain's armband at Sheffield United. Howard Kendall gave me it first, and I took those learnings from that early years in terms of making sure the players understood what they were, what and who they were representing, and it's not just another club, and it's not just another fan base. It's there's a standard that needs to be set. There's the way that you don't, nobody walks past anybody, and it's treat people with respect as well. We go out and we do our best, and we'll fight as hard as we can. It might not work on some occasions. It might work on other ones, but you know what I mean? It was that mindset and that greeting from particularly from those three lads. Kev Gage, again, a Southerner turned into a Sheffielder. Again, he was brilliant. You've heard it before. He came in and said, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm I said, I'm 23, going on 24. And he made me bring my passport in because he thought I'd come to retire. So that's my first day as well. So you know what you're coming into. But I think, to answer your question, the fabric of players that were brought together, they were all different, but when they came together, they all sort of locked together. And that's quite special. That's why when you see them now, or you're in a WhatsApp group, what have you, and there's a bit of crack flying around. It doesn't happen if you didn't get on with people 25 years ago. It doesn't survive that length of time. And I've been fortunate to have that affinity with all the clubs I've been at as well. And I think that's down to the people that are brought to the club as well.
I love it. I could listen to you all day talking about these sorts of things. But final question, we want to ask you, what's next for Alan Kelly?
Oh, what's next for Alan Kelly? Well, 25th of September 1985, I signed my first pro contract, but we're 40 years now, aren't we? I clicked over the 1,000 professional games in 2023. I've just loved every minute of what I've done in terms of playing, coaching, and having those experiences. I'm so blessed that I was given the opportunity to play at teams like Sheffield United, and to be able to sit and hear and talk to you two lads after 26 years of leaving. Hopefully, you've left some sort of memory, that stands that test of time. But what happens next? You never say never in football. You never say never to nothing, because it can always surprise you. I'm out the game at the moment in terms of being involved in the professional game, but I work with BBC Radio Lancashire, and also I do some scouting for emerging talent for Manchester City in Europe. So I'm still involved. I just love football. I love watching it. I love being involved in it. I love talking to you lads about it. It's a real buzz and a real pleasure to be involved in one, the podcast, but two, just in the game in general.
Wow. I echo everything Nick said. I could genuinely just keep talking to you all day. It's a shame we have to end it, but Alan Kelly, a true Blades legend. Thank you for your time on the Sheff United way. We hope to see you at Bramall Lane, enjoying a game again very soon.
Thank you very much, Hal. Thanks, Nick. Really appreciate it.